From humble clay courts in El Palmar to BMW keys and penthouse balconies, Carlos Alcaraz is living a millionaire lifestyle that's equal parts grounded and glamorous. Let's take a whole Michelin-starred first-class tour of Carlos Alcaraz's millionaire lifestyle. The meteoric rise of Carlos Alcaraz. Carlos Alcaraz's journey began not on television but in the raw grit of Spain's clay courts. Imagine a 10-year-old gripping a battered racket, stuffing paper in his sneakers because his gear was almost worn out, and holding back tears mid-match out of fear, thinking whether he'd be able to afford the next tournament. 10 years later, that same boy stood in the center court at Wimbledon, taking on Novak Djokovic and beating him in 5 impossible sets. The stadium was roaring, a Rolex glimmering on his wrist. Not just that, but there was a brand new BMW waiting for him inside the players' area. This transformation was extraordinary. Every Grand Slam win added weight to his trajectory. US Open in 2022, Madrid Open, the French Open, back-to-back Wimbledon titles, and at 22, the youngest player ever holding titles on all 3 surfaces. In the span of months, he went from name on Spanish sports coverage to global phenomenon with high-end brand logos following his every move. That sudden rise was a seismic shift from underdog to centerpiece. Sponsors flocked. Tennis legends, Silicon Valley types, watchmakers, luxury fashion houses, they all recognized the same thing: raw athleticism paired with grounded charm. Carlos's wins opened the doors to a life no teenager could have dreamt of a decade earlier. He began walking into rooms dripping with Prada and Louis Vuitton, yet slipping on Nike court shoes that cost a fraction of the mansion tastes he'd grown into. It's that contrast, humble origins, upgraded by carefully curated luxury, that makes Alcaraz's story feel like a modern fairy tale without the fairy dust. By early 2025, his prize money alone had exceeded $38 million. But off-court endorsement earnings, Rolex, BMW, Nike, Calvin Klein, are rapidly matching that number. Brands are not just paying for his game, they're placing bets on his influence and his refusal to look like he's trying too hard. So yes, the wins made the entry level. But the lifestyle came from turning each victory into a platform and each Grand Slam into a jet-setter's pass. Carlos Alcaraz became a bridge between the raw heart of tennis and the polished world of global luxury. How Alcaraz built a $1 million sponsorship machine. Once Alcaraz began collecting Grand Slam trophies, luxury brands began to line up like ball kids at a high-stakes tournament. Think about it. Rolex, the name synonymous with legends like Federer and Nadal, put a gold-coated timepiece on his wrist. Nike signed him next. And then there was Babolat, his lifelong gear provider that deepened its investment. Calvin Klein and Louis Vuitton also eyed him for campaigns, and BMW handed him an electric SUV worth over Euro 80K. Now let's pause a little. You're watching right now but haven't subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button so we can move on with the video. You did? Okay, cool. Now back to the story of Carlos Alcaraz. He's often called the Federer of Gen Z endorsements, but he runs it differently. Federer carried himself with reserved elegance, but Alcaraz radiates warmth. He jokes easily, handles cameras calmly, and even after pouring sweat at the net, heads backstage without skipping a beat. That's the kind of athlete sponsors dream of. Elite, yet authentic. Now let's put things in perspective a little. Over $38 million in official ATP prize money. Sponsorships? Estimated 6-figure base deals, plus performance bonuses, commercial shoots, appearances, stack those, and it's no hyperbole to call him a multi-million-dollar brand magnate. Numbers aside, what stands out is how he treats the deals. Rolex isn't just a logo, it's a connection to tennis's heritage. Louis Vuitton isn't just a fashion moment, it's his first foray onto global-style runways. BMW isn't just a car partner, it's his electric future in motion. An anecdote captures it best. During a behind-the-scenes ATP Finals shoot with Nike Times Off-White gear, Alcaraz laughed and pointed to the corner of the kitchen where he stores pairs of sneakers, a collection that overflowed his closet. He said, "I need more room." Casual indulgence, but in a garden office-sized player's home. That's his signature, luxury balanced with memory, high fashion grounded by humble perspective. Brands see a trophy machine, Alcaraz gives them something more, a personality. He still keeps his first ATP prize money shoes, those worn-out Babolat trainers, and stores them in his garage shrine next to his BMW. It's a trophy of a different kind, proof that he remembers where he came from. So yes, he's earning millions off endorsements, but he's spending it quietly, curating well, and always linking back to the place he came from. That synergy is why sponsors remain loyal, not just because he hits aces, but because he hits us with authenticity every time he picks up a racket. Garage Chronicles: Alcaraz's cars, kicks, and style taste. You won't find Alcaraz's garage on social media flexes, but sit beneath the door, and you'll overhear stories stitched between brand polish and personal roots. There's the moss green BMW M4 competition convertible, his post-Wimbledon self-reward. It roars with 503 horsepower, but Alcaraz drives it the same way he plays tennis: precision with calm flair. Then there's the sleek Mini Cooper SE, limited edition and quiet in electric form, a reflection of how sporty doesn't always need to shout. He also owns the BMW iX xDrive 4.0, a high-end electric SUV, handed to him the day after his US Open win. But instead of parading it through city streets, he drove it straight home to El Palmar, parked gracefully in front of his childhood house, and walked inside like the kid who once could no longer afford lunch funds. That image says everything about him. Sneakerheads know him for more than serves. His off-court capital includes Nike Times Off-White pairs, rare Louis Vuitton collabs, the ones limited to 300 pairs worldwide, and even his first ATP-celebrated Babala shoes, still kept with reverence. In a Netflix behind-the-scenes clip, he sheepishly pointed to the corner of his kitchen where the shoes overflowed onto multiple shelves. "I need more space," he joked. That space has become a mini-museum, functional, stylish, and full of story. In fashion shoots with Zegna and Louis Vuitton, he looks subtle, just a confident athlete wearing top-tier design. He carries a quiet composure, wearing couture with the same ease he carries a forehand. Alcaraz shops minimal but meaningful. Each car, each sneaker, and each suit piece is selected with purpose. For instance, his garage is all about quality instead of quantity, both physically and metaphorically. The space at Rosa Elena Academy in Vive near Alicante holds his modest practice bike, yes, the same one his father used when Carlos was young and broke. It shares room with his polished M4 and a few sleek kicks, blending training memory with trophy polish. In short, Alcaraz doesn't like to flaunt, but it's still impossible to take eyes off the rides he enjoys. His aesthetic is intentional as well as personal, a tennis legend's garage anchored in childhood clay, curated for performance, but infused with nostalgia. That balance of luxury and love is what makes it feel real, tangible, and uniquely his. Homes with Heart, where Alcaraz lives when the crowds fade. Sure, many athletes drop 7 figures on sprawling estates with marble fountains and paparazzi alarms. But Carlos Alcaraz? He invests in comfortable spaces that tell a story: quiet luxury in a Spanish style. For instance, take his €1.2 million penthouse in Alicante. Walnut wood, soft ambient lighting, a large balcony for afternoon sun, private gym, and an open-plan setup where every piece from the couch that fits his team for movie nights to the minimalist kitchen feels purpose-built. Designer touches whisper luxury instead of screaming it. He could upgrade to ultra-modern Manhattan high-rises or beachfront villas in Marbella, but for Carlos, it's about space that feels like home. Back in his dusty childhood town, El Palmar, his childhood bedroom still exists. As anyone would expect, it just has a single bed with an old wooden dresser where trophies are stacked tightly, and the outline of Roland Garros 2020 scrawls on the wall in marker, faded but intact. On weekends or off-season breaks, you'll find him there, sleeping beside his childhood trophies and retracing his journey. All grounded and humble. He also maintains a player's apartment at his academy in Vélez, roughly 90 square meters of modern minimalism. Warm lighting, a treadmill, a whiteboard chalked with next tournament dates, a screening room for match analysis. All space is earned, not wasted. It's his calm before storms of grand slams, his base camp before glory. That balance across his living spaces is telling. One foot in elite luxury penthouses, the other in simple rooms that remind him of where he exhaled his first breath of ambition. Brands see him pose next to designer furniture for campaigns, sure, but Alcaraz knows the real value lies in the room he still calls his old bed back in El Palmar. It's not about location, it's about identity. He once mentioned that he doesn't feel richer in a penthouse than he does walking back into his childhood home. That humility is his anchor, and luxury isn't about ownership, it's about choices made responsibly. As slick as his lifestyle looks, the heart of it is a boy who still knows how to brush off clay dust from tennis shoes, smile at sun rays through balconied windows, and appreciate every corner whether walnut-paneled or wall-scribbled. First class only. The Alcaraz Travel Playbook. For most 20-year-olds, travel means carry-ons and layovers. For Carlos Alcaraz, travel is a curated ritual. It's chartered jets, hotel suites with court prep rooms, and runway retakes in a fresh suit. But even this billionaire trajectory follows his rule. Less flash, more flavor. After clinching a Grand Slam, instead of crowd parades, he's boarding private flights outfitted with quiet zones for muscle recovery and smoothie bars. His destination? Whether it's Miami, Monte Carlo, Paris, or Melbourne, every city is a backdrop to a fashion shoot or product campaign within hours of stepping off the plane. One trip, he touched down in London for a Louis Vuitton shoot. By dinner, he was in a minimalist penthouse reviewing match footage with his coach via FaceTime. He's walked through backstage corridors at Paris Grand Slam events in Zegna suits, and later stepped onto Parisian streets flanked by photographers for LV photo ops and still clocked into a physical therapy session that same evening. It's all about branding, yes, but also meticulous routine. Each departure checklist includes his clay-stained racket case, Nike training gear, curated sneaker pair for post-match streets, and always a carry-on filled with his prized Babolat First ATP shoes. Among his closet essentials, tailored sports tracksuits, monochrome knits ready for magazine profiles, and sneakers that double as trophies. But he doesn't buy them casually, each pair has a memory. Off-white Nikes from US. Open press tours, platinum-style Louis Vuitton sneakers dropped during brand deals. In between tournaments, he'll slip back into El Palmar's dirt roads, greet neighbors, then head out again for a round of La Liga matches or European holiday snaps. At one point, he flew from Monte Carlo straight to Mallorca for a small property scouting trip. Yes, for personal investment, not paparazzi. Meanwhile, he reinvests his European earnings into local Rafa Nadal tennis academies in Alicante. That depth, where private jets meet childhood homes, fashion campaigns meet personal charity ventures. This is Alcaraz's jet-set lifestyle. It's curated, ambitious, but never detached from roots. And even amid champagne towers at gala dinners, he's the kid quietly nodding, eyes focused not on flashing lights, but on every detail: training schedule, next match plan, next era. Carlos travels first class, sure, but lands first in the places that made him. That, folks, is how luxury becomes legacy. At the end, Carlos Alcaraz is living proof that greatness and groundedness can ride in the same convertible. His journey is far from over, and so is his ascent. If you enjoyed this peek inside his luxe world, like, comment, and subscribe for more such interesting stories.